Alrighty, well, it's a total pleasure to welcome you all back. Welcome back to our coaching cafes. This is the first one that we've had this year, and Anna, I can see you're on the line. You're going to be delighted because Anna was actually coaching me, or strongly suggesting that I get the coaching cafe started again. So, for those of you that haven't joined me, I'm Natalie Ashdown, and it's great to have you all come on the line. Our coaching cafes, we hold them every Friday at 12 noon, that's Melbourne time, but we do record them, so if you want to catch up with them later, you're more than welcome to. I keep everyone on mute, just so that we can keep a clean line, but if you want to interact and give me your ideas and thoughts, then we really encourage that by typing into the chat box. So for those of you that know me, I can talk underwater and I'm happy to talk non-stop, but I really am keen to hear what your thoughts are and what your comments are, and I'm really keen to make this as interactive as possible. So today we're actually going to be talking about exploring the R in SMART goals. So a nice way to start, actually, going back to SMART goals. I want to talk about putting the R back into SMART goals and the value of actually exploring realistic, that part of realistic when it comes to goals. And I'm interested in how does being realistic actually aid high performance. For those of you that are new to the coaching cafes, we really are about creating a community of practice around our coaching, sharing learned experiences, and you can jump in and share your experiences. Let's have some thought-provoking conversations and, of course, have some fun. So I really welcome your thoughts as we go along. So that's our topic, putting the R back into the SMART goal. And I wanted to share with you how this actually came about. And it was in a coaching conversation that I was receiving, actually. And I hear with the different workshops that we run and the different programs that we run, I hear people ask this question quite often. Of course we would. We'd say, so how realistic is that in terms of what you have on your plate? Or how realistic is that in terms of what you're trying to achieve? Or so coaches are asking this question about how realistic is that? And the question that was asked of me was, how realistic is that? How realistic is achieving that in terms of what you have on your plate? And what I realized was that I actually was reacting to this question. So, even when I was delivering the coach training programs and we're working together in coaching and I'm listening to coaching, I was actually realizing that I was reacting to that question. And I did react to that question when the coach asked me the question, and I said to something along the lines of, you know what, I've never worried about the R in SMART. I've never really let realistic get in the way of a big vision, and definitely never let reality get in the way of a big goal. And so that was really my view on it. Don't let reality get in the way of your big goal. Don't worry about reality. You can achieve what you need to. So I'm wondering, am I alone here? Was I the only one that was thinking these kind of things? You can jump in and share your thoughts. By the way, for those of you that are new to the cafe as well, we too kind of go fast and furious here. So if you've got some thoughts, type them away and I'll grab them and we'll share them. And if not, I'll move on fairly quickly. We've got half an hour together, so we'll be able to really get into it within a short period of time as well. So have a think for yourself. What's your approach when it comes to reality? Now, there's some workplaces I work with, like, as you know, with Air Force, where this is what we are talking about. And this question will come up often. How realistic is that? We have to watch the tone and the judgment. We have to watch that we're not using that question to go, well, how realistic is that? How realistic is it? Meaning it's probably not. And we're trying to get the coachee to make sure that they realise that it's not realistic. So we have to watch the tone when we're asking this question as a coach. And we need to think about what's the purpose of actually asking this question as well, so that we're not bringing any judgment to it. But let's have a think about it as a question. Whenever there's something for me to learn, I'm a bit like you on the line. My approach is to learn it and then to try to communicate that learning and go and dig a bit deeper into it as well. So what I did is I got onto Google, of course, and looked up the definitions and I looked up many different definitions of the word realistic actually and what it actually means. And you can see a couple of definitions here: having or showing a sensible and practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. I thought we had a realistic chance of winning. So one is having or showing a sensible and practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. And the other thing is the other definition was representing things in a way that is accurate and true to life. And I thought, let's look at these definitions now. Let's have a look at them. Why would, or the question is how do these definitions actually really aid our coaching? So how would asking this question actually help our clients have or show a sensible, practical idea of what can be achieved? How can we make it more realistic and more practical? And the other question is representing things in a way that is accurate and true to life. So how accurate is actually the description, and how can we make it more true to life? And when we're thinking about things in this way, all of a sudden, the opportunities open up in terms of questions we can actually ask. And when I started to really think about this, I love to do sentence construction and question construction and question deconstruction. All of a sudden, lots of different questions started to come to me. So let's have a look at the value of the realistic, the R then. The first part of the definition, having or showing a sensible, practical idea of what can be achieved or expected. So if we are actually looking at the R in the SMART, it's not judging it as I used to. What I realise is I react to the judgment when people used to say to me, well, how realistic is that? Meaning, obviously, it's not, or that's not very realistic. And when you're kind of a big picture person, you're an INTJ or an ENTJ, or you've got those big picture visions and ideas, you don't want people kind of dragging you down going, well, that's not really realistic. I'm like, it might not be realistic now, but it's a vision. So I realised I was reacting to the judgment part of it. But if we're thinking about this from a reframed point of view, the question for reality could be, how can you turn that into something that's practical and sensible and something that's achievable? How can you how practical is it for you to pull that off? How sensible is it for you to pull it off or to go after that? What would make it more practical and sensible and achievable? They're really good questions that we can start to have a think about when we're thinking about the R in reality, not just how realistic is that. The other things that this enables us to do is turn things into a plan. It actually helps us break things down into achievable pieces. So if we're showing a sensible or practical idea of what can be achieved or expected, then of course that leads to our grow model and breaking things down. So what it made me think of is that when we're doing the W in the grow model, we are doing reality. We're making sure that this is achievable, that we are breaking it down, that we do have the next step to move forward. We've got a date, a time, we're knocking out any obstacles. Think about the extended grow model where we're knocking out all the obstacles to assure that this actually can go ahead, that it's practical and achievable. So all of a sudden I stopped thinking about realistic as being a judgment kind of thing and turned it more into, well, it's what we do. It's actually what we do in the grow model. We're breaking things down into achievable pieces and turning things into a plan. Share with me what your thoughts are about this. Obviously, sometimes I get very excited about ideas, but I'd be very keen to hear what your thoughts are as well. Alrighty. So the second definition of realistic was around this one of representing things in a way that's accurate and Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I had to scroll down. Yvonne says it makes sense. That's really good. Thank you. Sorry, I'm just new to using this little chat box here as well. So apologies for that. Just move these things out over the way a bit. That's the way. Thank you. So the second way of thinking about realistic is that we're talking about representing things in a way that's accurate and true to life. So a realistic human drama was the example. When I thought about it, I thought accurate doesn't need to mean limiting. I think when we talk about being realistic, I think I had a definition which was limiting. So if you're being realistic, you are limiting yourself. And that was a really powerful thing for me to understand. That was why I was reacting to realistic, was because I felt that if you said to me, how realistic is that, you're actually limiting me in terms of my goals. So I think accurate doesn't mean limiting. This definition we have here is about stating the facts. It's about thinking things through. So when we're asking our clients to be realistic, I love the idea that we could ask a question that says, so how can you represent that in a way that's accurate for yourself? How can you represent that in a way that's true to life? Which is kind of what the coach did for me. She said, given what you've got on your plate, i.e. being true to life and being true to what you've got on your plate, how can you represent this goal in a way that is true to life in terms of what you've got on your plate? Pretty powerful question, don't you think? How can you represent this goal in a way that's accurate given all that you've got on your plate? Not to say that we're not trying to limit you here. It's just, let's have a think about it in a slightly different way. And I loved this idea now of in a way that's true to life, in a way that's true to yourself. I have just come out of a coaching conversation with a person where I asked almost that exact question. The question I asked was around, how does this now look in terms of you being you? I said a question, something along the lines of, how does this now look in terms of you being an authentic leader, bringing your authentic leadership self to the conversation? So I was actually asking the person, how is that bringing your best self, your true authentic leadership? And I'm using a reality question here. I'm saying, how is that true to yourself? How does being realistic allow you to bring your best self? Now, I love that question. I was brainstorming oh, thanks, Anna says, great questions. I was brainstorming that question and brainstorming questions that you could ask around realistic. And this is the one I came up with. How does realistic allow you to bring your best self? Because when you think about it, if I'm being unrealistic, maybe I'm not bringing my best self. Like if I'm being unrealistic about a deadline or something I want to achieve, maybe I'm not bringing my best self. Maybe making it, thinking things through, stating the facts, being accurate about what I can achieve is actually going to enable me to bring my best self. I don't know. I just really love it as a question. Let me know what other questions you might ask or think of. Feel free to, jump in here as well. Brainstorm some with me. Nothing like having a great group of coaches on the line to brainstorm questions with. So I'm very interested now about how we can bring a more accurate or stating the facts. The coaching conversation that I just came out of was basically a person stating what she really wanted in terms of her vision for her team. She was thinking things through as part of the conversation. She was thinking about what she wanted her reality to be, how she could bring herself as an authentic leader to that conversation. It's what's true for her in terms of where she wants to take the team and what it actually means. She did catch herself, actually. She said she talked about a team where people support each other, where they celebrate success, where they're part of a bigger picture, and where they feel like they're contributing to something bigger. And she went on to say, maybe that sounds, maybe some people think that's a bit, And I said, a bit what? And she said, sometimes I think that, those ideas, people aren't going to be, they're not going to be, I don't know. So can you see how she's kind of petering off? She didn't actually finish the sentence twice, nearly 3 times. So that's when I said to her, well, what does it look like to bring your true leadership style to that, to bring your authentic leadership to it? And then she gets quite, she's realistic about it. And the realistic for her was that actually it's quite an inspiring vision. And I'm sure that my team would be inspired by that vision if I actually shared it with them. And I love that, because what I've actually done now is talked about what the reality is now, what is actually true. The truth is that, if a leader actually talks about those kind of things and is authentic, the truth is that you'd be very inspired. So we've brought an element to reality to this, and it's quite, it's quite inspiring, I think, for the person and through the coaching as well. Thoughts or questions at all? So I suppose it's a bit like, some questions you react to because you've got a kind of a negative, or they've been used in the negative sense. So in the workplace where you've heard that question used so many times and it's been really in a negative kind of frame, when we hear that and the negative frame, that's where it kind of taints the question. So it's really quite nice, I think, to think about it in a more positive frame like this. So let's link being realistic to high performance, which is what we're trying to do from a coaching point of view, linking realistic to high performance. So how does it actually enable high performance? Well, it breaks things down. Oops, sorry, we've jumped ahead. You need to go back. So it actually breaks things down. If the goal is too big, or people have a worry or a fear of failure, then actually making it more realistic and breaking things down is really important. It breaks things down into measurable chunks, as we know. Being realistic allows us to have motivation because we can get those small wins. And of course, some people react to this. If someone says, that's unrealistic, it can actually spur people on. So sometimes you think, that's totally unrealistic. It can actually give you a bit of motivation to move forward. So when it comes to being realistic, it actually enables high performance because things are broken down into smaller achievable chunks, realistic chunks that we can actually pull off, and that enables the high performance. So we know that from a coaching point of view. You're all great coaches on the line, I can see. I think that should resonate with you. I just had never thought about it from that perspective when I thought that the W in the GROW model was also part of the R in the SMART goal, in the SMART model, if you like. So breaking things down into measurable chunks and small wins. I also like the idea of unrealistic. So setting unrealistic goals can push you out of your comfort zone. Unrealistic goals can help you achieve what you never thought that you could achieve. So you can have a think about that when it comes to setting a vision. So a vision is an aspiration for where we want it to be. And sometimes that vision might seem right now to be unrealistic, or it may or may not be seen to be realistic. But I did hear a talk from someone that said you should always set unrealistic goals. And I'm like, wow, tell me more about that. And it was about, pushing yourself out of the comfort zone, setting a really aspirational vision for where you want things to be. When it starts to limit your performance, like because it's unachievable and you're never going to get there, that's actually having an impact on your performance. But where it motivates you and inspires that performance, that's a different perspective. Things can be unrealistic in hindsight, so you might need to modify and adapt. So that's really important. So looking at where something you thought was going to be realistic and it turned out to be not so realistic. I think the positive there is that you're actually modifying, you're adapting, you're using hindsight to actually modify and adapt the goals. So there's quite a lot of benefit in thinking about realistic when it comes to high performance, because it's actually keeping us on track in terms of what we're achieving and how we're achieving our high performance. Who would have thought that just one little coaching question could lead to a half-hour webinar on the actual topic? But I suppose that's me, isn't it? um, we're thinking about how do we ask really high-quality questions that then think about that realistic piece, break things down, etc. So that we enable high performance. We enable someone to get on with what they know they need to get on with, to do what they need to do. And they can then achieve what would be seemingly, achieving seemingly unrealistic goals as well. Achieving what people thought was never possible. Any thoughts, questions at all? Does it make sense to you all? Great. Alrighty. I do know that some of you are, in work environments, or you might be listening to this in the car or somewhere, so it's not appropriate for you to be typing in, and that's perfectly fine. I love the fact that our coaching cafes are actually set up so you can listen to them anywhere at any time as well. It's part of it. So let me know if you have any other ideas. Feel free to drop me a line on it or send me a note on Facebook or something like that if you have other ideas that you'd like to share. And what we'd like to do, have a think for yourself where to from here in terms of what's the key takeaway, what actions might you take from our conversation this afternoon. Log on for have a look out for the next webinar. So we are going to be running them. I think there must be an automatic something in my slide deck here that wants to fast forward, but we will be running the webinars on a weekly basis now, so they are back for the second half of our year. We're going to be running a lot of really great topics, and we have got CCEs for these. So if you're collecting, it's wanting to do it again. If you're collecting accredited coach education units for your ICF qualification, then our whole Coaching Cafe program actually counts towards ICF credentialing, ICF CCEs, if you're collecting those. So you just need to drop us a line and let us know if you want a CCE. So yes, there's the whole Coaching Cafe program, all the sessions that we're doing between now and the end of the year, they're all counted as extended coach. I know we've got some yays and some yes pleases and everything coming on. I know we couldn't run them until I actually got approval from the ICF. So as soon as we got that approval, we lay out the schedule to be able to start running them again. So that's very exciting as well. I love it that we can just collect them, and before you know it, you've got 20 hours or however many hours you need for your credentials. So it's really good. Well, thank you. Thanks for being on the line. Check the Facebook side, or we'll probably send out an email, I think, too, to let you know when the next webinar's on. But they will be held weekly. They are recorded. You're very welcome to hook in with the recording and to connect with us. And yeah, I'm really excited to be back for our Coaching Cafe. Thank you again to Anna, who has encouraged me to get on with it. I sorted out the thing that was holding me back, which was ICF reapproval. Apparently you have to have your program reapproved every year. So thank you, you're very kind. All right, everyone, thanks for joining me. It's Friday if you're listening to this live, and that means it's the weekend. So I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you really enjoy your coaching. Stay in touch, and let's stay connected as a community of practice. It's been a pleasure to catch up with you today. So I will say goodbye for now. Enjoy your coaching. Thanks, everybody.